When? When did we choose collectively that we had to be replaced? Not by someone, but by something. Not just in what we do, but in who we are. When did we lose faith in ourselves? Well, I don't have an answer to that, but I do have an answer of when I did lose faith. It was a warm summer morning here in beautiful Florida. We were walking outside, I was holding her hand. And she turns around, looks at me and says, "Toark, I don't love you." And I froze. After 5 years and a ring on a finger, I couldn't move, I couldn't speak. And I told her maybe it was confusion. It would pass, we could talk about it, but no, she was certain. And a week later, she was back in Europe. 2 weeks before, I was supposed to ship out for the US Marine Corps boot camp. And in that moment, I lost everything. The entire faith I had in my whole life was gone. You see, my father, since a very young age, since I can remember, told me that excellence was attainable for everyone, as long as you're willing to seek self-improvement, self-mastery, self-knowledge, and wisdom. Those were not accessories to who you are and what you can achieve. Those are the foundation of it. And I believe that. And I remember seeing him on stage in front of thousands of people sharing the very same wisdom, very same knowledge, in front of adults, men and women, hanging on to every word. And I thought to myself, well, if only they knew the same things decades earlier, the things that he shared with me, that now he's sharing on stage, then maybe their lives would have been different. Maybe I can be the difference. So, after attending his first event when I was 13, shortly after, I was 14 and started my own events. Started studying and researching and working with teenagers my age to share them what I had loved to know much earlier, much sooner. And it worked. That was the common thread for my whole life. Human potential, human discovery, how we work, how we function, how we don't work, how to unlock and elevate our genius. And across over 60 countries, from the classrooms in India to the stages in Europe, it worked and I was successful in almost any aspect of my life. And so were the people that I worked with. I had proof. Then the next chapter came. We're ready for the big step. United States of America. After traveling so much, that was the country that I felt like home, even though I was born in Italy. The only two places I would call home were Florida and the airport. So I wanted to come back. I wanted to become a citizen. That's where I could see the next chapter for me and my family's legacy. And I didn't just want to become a citizen, I wanted to earn it by service, through service, by proving America that I have faith in this country before asking this country to have faith in me. And the plan was clear. The ring was on their finger. We would become citizens. I would become a Marine. We would be successful and build great things. But that was gone. Becoming a Marine was a trial, but she was a light. I remember often I would tell her, as long as we are together, I have proof that the world is a wonderful place. We will always figure it out. But that proof was gone. So I took everything I know and I threw it in the trash. Because I thought to myself, well, with everything that I've known since a very young age, if I can't be successful in what I do, especially in this single most important thing of my life, then I failed. Not as a business owner, as a visionary, as a researcher. No, I failed as a man, as a human being. I did ship out a boot camp. I made it as a Marine. Then an infantryman with honors. And then, as that gave me purpose, I became a U.S. citizen, and I made it. And I had proof. I had military discipline and proof that I still got it. But I didn't have faith. So I didn't have enough proof. What I've done in the military was insignificant. What I've done before then, a decade spent on my mission, on my path, didn't even want to talk about it. I had to prove in the civilian world again, in completely different things, that I still got it. So I did, and I went everywhere and anywhere, from real estate to e-commerce to insurance sales to law enforcement, opened a private military company, close protection. It was never enough. I was trying to change my actions without redefining who I was. And as you can guess, it didn't work really well. I had that voice that told me, hey, pal, it's not what you're supposed to do. It's like, shut up. Even probably a little bit more colorful than that. So I took that voice and I buried it deep down under a distraction and adrenaline and work and lust and everything and anything I could to make it go quiet. On the outside, I kept the appearance of the man that people used to know. It's still me, right? I got it, I'm good. And my family knew me well, of course. And when my birthday comes around, I find a gift. I take it to Mexico. They told me I had to get away. Luckily not from them, but from me, for myself, for my life. Take a break. 2 weeks. Sure enough, boarded the plane. 2 weeks became 2 months in Guadalajara. And at one point I find myself in the square of Tlaquepaque, lighting up a cigarette, thinking to myself, I don't even smoke. And in that moment, something cracked open. I realized that if I ever wanted to look up the sky again, I had to look down in my roots. I didn't have to redefine or design or re-understand or figure out myself. I had to find myself again. I was still there. I hadn't lost it, had abandoned it, which is different. Because it was in the days that preceded me that I would find the questions, not the answers, but the questions for the days ahead of me. So I took that lesson and I etched it into my skin, the tree of life, to remind me daily of that lesson. So I had proof, I had a direction, I didn't have the fuel, but it started getting back together. It started going back into my studies and research. AI came around, was fascinated by it. Couldn't quite understand it fully yet, but was fascinated. Next thing you know, I'm in South Africa. Again, almost 2 months, this time between rhinos and lions, and again, my mother is still not very happy to hear these words, but I almost died for a reason or another every other day. Say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes twice a day. Still here, so all good so far. But I loved it. It was real, it was raw, it was intense. One of the most beautiful natural places left on earth. I was still trying to figure it out, but my body was too busy, my mind was free, my heart were free to find their way back. Then one day, it's a morning, step outside the truck, look at nature around me, look at the sky, and then at that moment I stopped. I stopped thinking, and I felt fate. For a brief moment, everything was clear, everything made sense. I could feel that I knew and understood everything for some reason, inside and outside of me. Because fate was what I was looking for. Perhaps that's what we need today. Not more technology, not more capability or intelligence. We have plenty of that. We have 2 of them now. But it's fate in ourselves and what we can become, what we cannot yet see. When I come back, there is a gift waiting for me from my mother, a book. Highly advise it if you haven't read it, AI Superpowers, by Dr. Kai-Fu Lee. And as I devour the pages, I come across a paragraph that says, artificial intelligence is elucidation of the human learning process. It's a quantification of the human thinking process, an explication of human behavior. It is the understanding of what makes intelligence possible. And then it stopped me cold. It is man's final step in understanding themselves. And there I was, back from one of the most natural places on earth, holding a book on artificial intelligence. But the contrast between the two worlds, the 2 extremes, was not lost on me. And I could see that in the space between, there was the answer. With AI, we're witnessing a deus ex machina, a god from the machine. Not because of what it can do necessarily, but what it can reveal. It's not a replacement of human intelligence, it's the mirror of it. It's the bridge between who we are today and who we can become, perhaps what we need to unlock the next frontier. But are we using it as such? Open the news, take your phone, companies laying off people by the thousands, and everyone is talking about replacing their copywriter, marketing director, salesman. Why not a wife? Why not having an AI girlfriend, right? And then one day, why can't AI make better decisions than a politician or a military commander? It's not just about jobs. Where's the line between what we do and who we are? For us to understand what we're witnessing, we have to understand that for the first time ever, we have a competitive form of intelligence. It's not just a tool. And because of that very reason, self-knowledge is not a luxury anymore, to know thyself. It's a matter of survival. Because we're developing and understanding the capabilities of AI that are growing every day, even though we still don't know where it's going, really. But are we doing the same with ourselves as humans? Not much. But that gap right there, that's where the real crisis is. That's where the opportunity is. Because if we replace what we do with our hands, but we don't redefine who we are, that's not progress. That's accelerated suicide. But it can be different. And it starts with a choice about fate in ourselves as humans. That we're not done yet, that there's still much to understand. And we've already done it before. Take a step back into the Renaissance. Before that, idea of what humans were and were capable of, fragments of something larger but not worthy of themselves. And knowledge was fragmented as well, hard to access. But then two things happened. One, books came around, a transformative technology, the press, on how we store and transmit knowledge. And then someone said, I think, therefore I am. And we recenter the human. Perhaps we have to do the very same thing today and foster a new renaissance. Because we have the most powerful light and technology that our civilization has ever had, and we're shining it outwards around us to expand or to protect us. I don't know how that's going to go. But what if we shine it onto ourselves, into our inner workings, to find how we work, how we function, what we can do, who we can become? But it starts with us. Not the government, not the military, not big tech. It starts with ourselves. So you see, when I started building an AI architecture, an AI framework to explain the human architecture across hundreds of categories, and using it on myself, he told me the very same thing that I realized in front of that rhino. When he said, you talk about a man you want to become, and you don't see it, you already are that man. You just have to remember. Because that decision of remembering where we come from and who we are starts the moment you open AI, any AI. And you got to ask yourself, are you putting your brain and heart on a plate in exchange for the illusion of accelerated progress? Or are you using it to discover yourself? To ask, who am I? What can I do? How do I work? And who can I become? I want to then leave you with a very last reflection. For a very, very long time, we looked for the miracle of a machine capable as us. We searched for the miracle of a machine come alive. But maybe, just maybe, the real miracle is that it will take a machine to force us to understand what it truly means to be human. Thank you.